Welcome back to another episode of the Watch Us Thrive podcast. This is your girl, Leanne. I am super excited to introduce this week's guest. We have Lisa. I'm going to have her introduce herself to anyone who's meeting you for the first time. But Lisa, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And I'm super, super excited to have this conversation with you today.
Leanne, thank you so much for having me on. I am super excited. My name is Lisa. I'm a single mom and to a young 13-year-old. I'm an older mom. I'm 50. She's 13. So definitely an older mom. And I am a running life coach.
Yes, yes. Shout out to the single moms. I'm a single mom as well, so I understand the struggle. I understand that it's not a role that we decided to be in, but we're here doing the damn thing. So shout out to us and shout out to all the single moms out there because I know how hard it can be. But I want to talk about your story in regards to how movement and moving your body really healed your soul. And that's a journey that I've been on. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I've been in my fitness bag. Like your girl has been in the gym consistently getting stronger. And what I didn't realize, having such a bad relationship in the past with my body, with fitness, with eating, all of these things really, it's been a roller coaster for me. And recently, I have realized how much moving my body has helped heal my heart and my mind. It's so much more than just the physical. And I know you can attest to that being a coach, being a running coach, and your own journey of getting to where you are today. So I want to start off with Lisa before. Before you got into the fitness world, before you really started doing your own inner healing, and then how you got into how you started your business. But give us some context of what your life looked like before your healing journey.
It was tough. So I never, just really quickly, I never thought I would get married. It wasn't something that was like on my radar. Like all the women would be like, "Hey, I want to get married. I can't wait." And I was just like, no. I was like, I just thought I wanted to live like la vida loca. Like I just wanted to go crazy and like see the world and stuff like that. So when I had the opportunity, I started dating and I met somebody who eventually became my husband. I lost myself, completely lost who I was, like this strong, independent woman. I didn't get married till really later in life. Most of the people were getting married in their 20s. I didn't get married until my 30s. I didn't get have my daughter until my late 30s. So, like when I got married, I lost who I was. And that's a whole nother conversation of knowing what a healthy relationship looks like. So in my mind, I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like. I thought, we were merging. That's what I thought. Okay. So when that happened, I wasn't in line. I wasn't living my intended purpose in life. And when that was happening, I actually got physically sick. My stomach. I used to have a lot of stomach problems and I felt like stuck, and I felt stuck. I felt scared. I felt like all the things I used to be like independent, strong, standing up for myself. Like I would still stand up for myself, but it was a gentle approach. So I was just, I would say, lost, stuck, very unhappy, very anxious, and I just did not feel like I was where I needed to be. It was almost like when you are aligned, you're just like everything starts falling into place. Where I was trying to make something happen that shouldn't have been happening in the first place. So that's how it was.
I know so many of y'all can relate to that. I know I definitely can, even though I've never been married. But if you've been around here for a while, you know my history, just toxic relationship after toxic relationship. And that's something that I think a lot of us women, especially, we experience that we do lose ourselves. We don't know who we are outside of being the wife, the mother, the coworker, the sister. Like, who are you outside of all those roles that society has placed on you? So I want to talk a little bit about, I like to call it my come to Jesus moment when my ex almost killed me And that's what really started the journey for me to really get my shit together and work on that relationship that I had with myself, because there was none back then. So, what was it for you? What was the turning point that you realized, I'm unhappy? I fucking hate my life. I can't continue living, just existing, not even living. What did that journey look like for you?
Okay, so it was definitely when I got sick. So what happened was it was 2013 and we just finished the anniversary. We just passed the anniversary. It was in August 1st. My stomach literally stopped digesting. I would eat something and it would sit there for hours to a day. And I'm like, okay, I was nauseous. I'm like, something's not right. And through that whole time, I was still working. I had my daughter. She was only 3 years old, and I would go see doctors, and they were all like, "Well, we don't know what's wrong with you. We don't know what's going on." And they even accused me of being having an eating disorder, and I'm like, "No, I like food. All right, so don't you worry about that." So I was like, I remember going to my mother. I couldn't go to my ex-husband. That was the first time that I realized he was detached. Like, emotionally detached, like, I'm, like, in pain, feeling nauseous, and he's just sitting there staring at me, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I said, "Hold up a second." I said, "You're looking at me like a stranger. Like, you probably would give more sympathy for a fucking homeless person, like, I'm your wife." Now, at the time, did I know something was up in my relationship? I was unhappy? Absolutely. But I said, let me stay for my daughter because I wasn't ready to leave. I didn't know how he was going to be. I didn't know if he was going to try to take her away from me. I was scared. So I said, I'm just going to wait. I was even making deals in my head. I was like, I'll wait until she's like 10 years old and then I'll leave. So when I got sick and I realized how he was, I was like, okay, this is not fucking good. This is not good at all. So I was determined to get myself healthy. I did everything, and finally I started feeling better. I started getting healthier. I started eating. I'll tell you this, I lost 30 pounds in 1 month, but I didn't know it. So we were supposed to go on vacation, and I said to him, I don't want to go. We shouldn't go. I don't feel. He goes, no, you're going. We paid for this. I felt like I had to go. And talk about like losing my power. I had to go, and I went. And I'll never forget, we went to it was on the beach in North Carolina, I think Emerald Isle, and they had this bathroom with mirrors all over. And I'll never forget when I walked in, and I don't know why, I never had a full length mirror, I guess, in my house. I walked in and I was putting my bathing suit on, and I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, literally skin on bones. And I'm thinking to myself, he sees this and he doesn't give a shit. So, that was the moment where I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get better, and then I'll figure out what I need to do." And even at that point, mentally, I still was afraid to leave. So, I will say this, he's the one who did me the favor by leaving. He did me that favor, and I was at a place where it was a dark place. And I remember just crying, not over him, but over the whole child custody that we won't get into. So that was a whole mess. And I'll never forget, I wanted to die. I wanted to die. And it was that moment that I said, you know what? No, no, I need to gain my power back. And I started just moving. Like I started going to the gym, going on a treadmill, and I started feeling better because at that moment I was stuck. Like I was still stuck, even though I got healthier, even though, after he left, I still felt like this scared little girl. I wasn't feeling my power until I started running. And that's when I started feeling so powerful. And I started like really walking around with my head up and thinking, okay, Lisa, you got to get your shit together. We need to fix this. Your daughter, she needs you. You need to be a mom. You need to be a woman. You got to fix this. And that was the moment.
I commend you for sharing that because I know it's not easy. And I think that's why it's so hard, especially for us women, to leave those really shitty relationships, marriages, to start over. It's fucking terrifying because there is no, okay, I'm going to follow this blueprint and reach my goals and live the best life ever. We wish it was that was the reality, but we know it's not. It's scary. You don't know what the fuck is going to happen next. But I always like to tell people that you have the ability to change the trajectory of your life. And I am a living testament to that. I decided after almost losing my life that no more. We're not going to continue being on this hamster wheel. We're not going to continue doing the same things that we did before and then expecting a different result. That's a definition of insanity, right? So I just commend you for finding the strength within yourself, even in the darkness, even in the unknown, the fear, the shame, the embarrassment, all of those really ugly feelings, you being able to say, I'm going to change my life. And that started with you moving your body. And like I said in the beginning, I did not realize how healing moving your body can be. Doesn't just have to be the gym and lifting weights. It can be going to Pilates. That's very trendy now. Everyone wants to be a Pilates baddie or a yoga girl. You know, I love that for you. That's great. Just finding something that makes you happy, makes you strong, builds that confidence that we lose in those relationships. This has been a journey. This is not something that happened from one night to the next. Now you're the baddest bitch alive, right? No, I'm pretty sure it's been a fucking roller coaster for you. So take us on that experience on what it was like after, and then talk about how you started your company called Ejago. That's how you say it, right?
Well, I love that you say it like that. Porque it's really Elago. When I came up with the name, I said, "Ma, ella go." She goes, "Oh my god." So Elago is really, uh, honoring my daughter because her name has those letters in it. So I wanted to also say that I am a former therapist. So even as a former therapist, and see, this is the misconception that just because you yourself are this profession and you have this education doesn't mean that you need help. Okay. So when I was going through that, I sought out therapy because therapists see therapists. And the therapist knew that I was a therapist, so she used a lot of "Lisa, you know this, you know you can get through this, you know what you need to do." As I was going through that journey, every time I ran, I felt better. I mean, and I gotta say, I was trying to lose so much weight when I was with him, and I never could lose the weight. And let me tell you something, once he was not in my space, it was literally like the fat melted. It was like holding on. That was happening, and I started to, like, I was putting it out there on social media. So back then, we didn't have TikTok. We had Instagram and Facebook. So I would put, like, pictures. I wasn't even doing videos. I was doing pictures of me saying, "Oh, I ran 3 miles. Oh, I did this." And every time I did it, I wasn't doing it to say, "Hey, everybody, look what I'm doing." It was more like I was keeping myself accountable. So it was like, okay, oh shit, I was telling people I was going to run tomorrow. I better be running tomorrow. That was more of an accountability. But what was happening, and I didn't realize that, was that people were watching. Women were watching. And women were reaching out saying, "Who's coaching you? How are you doing it? You're looking good. Oh my God." And I'm like, what is she talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I said, nobody's coaching me. They would say, we want to run with you. We want to know what you're doing. So when they were coming to me, I said, oh my God, wow. Like it was empowering. I was feeling empowered. And even though I was showing photos of me running, I'll never forget it, Leanne. Like when they said to do a live, they're like, just do it, right? Just tell a story and do it. And I still have it on my Instagram, like way down on the Instagram.
You got to scroll for that one.
Yeah, scroll for a little bit. And all I did was, I remember I had a little speaker right next to me, and I talked about when I got sick. And that's how I started. And then I started doing my stories. And I didn't realize I was also speaking in terms of empowerment. So at that point, I was like, well, people want to run with me. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So I went to become a certified running coach. And I'm like, okay, now I'm certified. Okay, now what? So then I started doing these meetups. So if you know, meetups is all over, it's free. And I'm like, let me just do a free couch to 5K meetup for women. And I'll never forget. And I was just telling the story to somebody. I opened it up, I created it, opened an account, created the meetup, and then I'm just like, nobody's gonna show up. No one's gonna sign up. No one's gonna be part of this. And it was just like trickling more women, more. I'm like, and I'll never forget, like 1 week passed and I looked, I'm like, let me see how many people. 100 people. So I'm like, okay, so this means I really gotta open up the meetup group. Like we need to do something. So I started opening it up and I did, let's do a couch to 5K. And slowly women started showing up, women who were single moms, women who never ran. And it just started getting bigger and bigger. And then I thought to myself, this could be something. Like this could be like a natural business. And I decided to go into a nutrition business first because people wanted to lose weight because they wanted to know how I lost weight. So I went to I bought a franchise that was more of nutrition. And as I was doing it, people were still wanting to know about running. Not only did they wanted to know about running, they also wanted more of the mindset. You were a therapist, you'll never leave that. You're always gonna be a therapist. Once a therapist, always gonna be a therapist. So, when I was going through that, I was like, "You know what? Running, life coaching." So, I went to get my certification in life coaching. I put this running life coaching company together, and that was how Elago started.
I love that story so much. It's so inspiring. And that's why I love having people come on like you, especially coaches who you've been able to learn from your own experience, right? And now you're out here serving others. How long have you been in business for? When did this start?
So I would say this started in 2016. I had my divorce in 2015, so a year after I started.
Good for you. Yes. And y'all, let this be a reminder too. I posted this the other day on my Instagram, something along the lines of, I don't care if you get 0 likes, continue talking about your business because people are watching. Okay? They may not like it, they may not sign up in the beginning, they may not understand it at first, but I'm telling you, y'all, if you have that idea and it keeps poking you on the side and you can't let go of that thought, put it out there because your people are there. And 9.5 times out of 10, it's not the people in your friend group and it's not your family. Okay? They are not going to support you, and that is okay because strangers on the internet will be one of your biggest cheerleaders. And Lisa is a testament to that. So post the fucking content and talk about your shit all the time. I love that. I love that. I mean, it's just inspiring to me too because I started my own coaching recently and I've yet to sign up my first client, but I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep putting it out there because I know my people are there. But the only way that they're going to find out about it is if you talk about it over and over and over again. Okay, I want to get some like coaching out of you during this conversation. So, one thing that I really like to talk about a lot on my platform is self love. And I think that's something that a lot of us, especially women who've been in really shitty relationships, don't have. I had no love for myself, no respect, no worth. And that's something that I've been able and continue to work on my own healing journey. So, what role did self love and self acceptance play in your healing process?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's number 1 because obviously if I mean this really tugs at me because as a strong woman, how come I don't love myself? Like what the hell's going on here? Something's going on here because if I am putting myself in these situations, there's a fucking problem because there's a common denominator and it's me. The self-love and the acceptance, that is an ongoing journey. That never ends, and I learned that the hard way because I'm thinking, "Oh, I got this. I'm getting my business and I feel healed. And what happens is I get myself in another situation because I thought, "Oh, I'm done. I finished." No, you're not done. You're continuously going through it. And that is something that I will always have with me. So, how do I use that with running is and I teach the women this as the positive affirmations. And not just like, "Oh, I'm gonna win a race." No, I'm powerful. I love myself. I accept who I am, where I am right now. Like those positive affirmations while you're running. So I always say, like, when you're hitting your foot on the ground, you're having a rhythm. And as you're having that rhythm, you're having that positive affirmation. It is an ongoing journey. And I always say to the women as well is that you need to say it even though you don't feel it. I had one woman say to me, "Well, I don't you're making me say this and I'm not feeling it." I said, "I know." I said, "But I want you to keep saying it. I want you to say it every damn day. You wake up, I want you to say it every day because something happens and there is an actual science to all this. Something happens in your brain where then boom, you then start believing what it is you're saying. So it's an ongoing journey. So when you asked me that question, how does that fit in to this whole thing? It's always there. This not, it doesn't end. I still go through it. And then how do I teach that to my daughter so that she hopefully doesn't go through the same journey like I did?
I can attest to that too. I have a 15-year-old, she just turned 15, starting sophomore and year in high school, and the crushes and the boys and all of that, and I'm just like, I wish I could just lock her in a closet, but I know that's not reality. Like, she has to live her life and she has to make her own mistakes. But I'm here, especially being a single mom and her father not in the picture at all. He signed away his rights. So he's been out of her life for decades. I have to be the one to show her, you've seen what I've gone through, and I pray to God that you don't repeat the same things that I did. But if you do, know that I will be here every step of the way. And I try to reiterate that to her over and over again because at the end of the day, I'm really the only person that she's had besides her grandparents on my side. Shout out to the single moms again. I'm going to say that because this shit is hard, especially to girls. I don't know what it is to raise a boy, but these young girls, oh my God.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it because I'm like, I'm at the beginning. You're still like, I just started and I'm just like, and everyone's like, oh, she's 13. Oh, honey, you got more to go.
Just wait, girl. I'm like knee deep in it. I'm waiting till I get to like right here, and I'm just like, oh God. But it's okay. It's a journey, right? Like we talked about. Okay, so I want to know, what are some steps that you would tell someone, say a new client or anyone, just someone listening, they are where you were. They're stuck in the cycle of toxicity. They're unhappy. They have that shame, that self doubt, and they want to break free, but they have no clue how to get started. What are some pieces of advice you would tell them?
One of the tips I would give them is to be with yourself in silence. So I often feel that people, like, especially if you're busy all the time, you don't think about shit. Like, you're just like boom, 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 right? But when you sit in the silence, like really sit in it, that's when you start hearing that voice. Because this is what happens is when you're going through these toxic situations, you're not listening to that inner voice. You're not listening to her. She's telling you shit and you're just like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm gonna do what I wanna do," and then all of a sudden, you don't hear her anymore. So, sit in the silence, and if you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna sit and I'm not hearing it." Sit in the silence every night. Sit in the silence every day. Meditate. Just sit and listen, okay? Because eventually she will tell you what you need to do, because everybody is different. I would also say surround yourself with positive people. Oh my God. So that was one of the things that I would say why I felt so stuck is that I lost most of my friends. Like they're all married and happily, well, happily married. And I literally was abandoned. So, I mean, I had my mom and thankfully I had her, but you only you don't wanna tell your Latin mother everything. So
Right, right. Because she's gonna hate him.
mhm. You need that friendship. So if you don't have those types of people, go to meetup groups. Go to meetup groups for women who, I mean, they have them for that went through toxic cycle of relationships. And then seek out therapy. And if you can't afford therapy because therapy is expensive, or if you don't have insurance and sometimes it's a waiting list, get a life coach. A life coach has more flexibility than a therapist. A life coach is going to give you the actual steps of what you need to do, how to start. They're going to give it to you. They're going to give you the tools. All, therapists do that, but they're very limited of what they can say to you. So if you can't do the therapy, go see a coach, life coach, a relationship coach to help you navigate your way out.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important when you find a coach to work with, find one that has that lived experience. The certifications are great, but there's a lot of bullshit out there when it comes to the coaching world. And a lot of people are in it for the wrong reasons. But when you're able to connect with someone that you know their story, you've seen the shift within them. That's why, like, I share so much of my stuff on social media because I want to take you guys on with me and I want to remind you that I've been where you are, but I know how beautiful it can be on the other side. So I think it's important for you to find someone that you're able to connect with and know that that's going to take some time. Like, I remember when I was going to therapy, I had some really shitty experiences with some therapists and it completely turned me off. And I was like, I'm never fucking doing this ever again. I hate therapy. This isn't for me. This is for crazy people, quote unquote, right? But then when I went through my last experience with the abusive relationship, I was like, you know what? Let me give this a try. And I eventually found the right person for me. He was a male doctor. Shout out to Dr. Ruben. Love him so much. He really helped me heal from the things that I went through. But if I would have stayed in that mindset of like, fuck this, I'm never going to do it again, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. So I think it's really important for you to, like she said, find that community. And I love that you said sitting in silence. I think people hate doing that because it's so uncomfortable to really look in the mirror and sit in your shit and sometimes realize that you were a part of the problem. Y'all know that I talk about accountability all the time, and that was one of the biggest things for me. I never take responsibility for what those people chose to do to me, but I am responsible for what I chose to continue thinking was okay. And that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people to be like, well, shit, maybe I am the fucking problem. That's like peeling down the layers and getting really real with yourself. But it's in that rawness and that vulnerability that you're really able to start growing and healing and working on yourself.
Yeah, and, when you say that, when you get to that point and you do that, man, that shit hurts. Like, that shit is like, "Holy shit." Like, I'll never forget the times where I've said that, "Holy shit, I did why the fuck did I do this? Why am I doing this? This is me. No, fuck him. He's just being who he is." Like, those toxic men, they're just being who they are, okay? But yet we are allowing ourselves to be in that space. Why the fuck are we doing that? And that is when you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm ready to fucking heal. Because I mean, you would think that people are aware, self-aware. They're not. They're not aware. They're blaming everybody for all the shit that happens to them, but they're not actually looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, "I'm the common denominator." Once you get to that point, then you will then realize you need to start healing because I mean, I'll never forget that. That was when I mean, crying like hysterically, like, "Oh my fucking god, this it's me. I'm the fucking problem."
Yep. But you can also be your solution. And I think everyone reaches that point on their own timeline. But I think you cannot make anyone change except yourself. Especially as women, like, stop being fucking Betty the Builder. Stop trying to be this person's mother. Okay? Like, especially these grown ass men. really boys. But, you got to stop worrying about everyone else and worry about yourself. And that's why, like I talk about all the time, you really have to nurture the relationship that you have with you first, and then everything else will follow. Because if you have a shitty relationship with yourself, what the fuck do you expect to attract? I know that's why I attracted my toxic ex, because I felt so shitty about myself. So, of course, I'm going to attract what I see in the mirror. And at the end of the day, the only person who can make the change happen is you. We can give you the tools. It's like that saying, you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. You have to get to the point that you're sick and tired of your own shit, and only you can make that happen. Or you're going to continue on the cycle of toxicity that you've been on and continue getting nowhere in life. So choose your heart, ladies and gentlemen. I want to ask you, being a coach and a former therapist, what are some misconceptions that you've come across when it comes to the healing and empowerment world? And how can people address those misconceptions that you've come across?
Yeah, so I mentioned that one where we think that we healed and then it's over, it's done. Okay, I'm healed, I can deal with this. No, it's ongoing. You're always going to be healing. So be open-minded with that. Say, "Yes, I've overcome that one challenge. I feel amazing. I feel at peace." But also be open that there are going to be other obstacles that might come your way. Hopefully they don't, but if they do, you're now more aware than you were the last time. So I would definitely say that one. And then the second one, empowerment doesn't mean you're the loudest. Empowerment doesn't mean like, hey, hey, look at me. I'm empowered. I'm strong. Look at me. I'm grunting, And I think about, especially like women at the gym, and they're strong, but they're like grunting and it's hard and it's hard. It's push. And especially with running, run faster. I'm doing all of this. I'm doing marathons one after the Okay, empowerment also means you can walk into the room quietly with your head up high and everyone's going to look at you because you own the damn room. It doesn't mean you have to be loud. So remember that if you're truly feeling that empowerment, you don't need to say shit. You don't need to say anything.
Yes, that is a mic drop moment, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I love that so much. It makes me think, like, when I'm in the gym, especially the men that are like doing the fucking most. Oh my god, I can't, like, that is one of my pet peeves. Like, "Sir, I know you're doing this for attention and you're seeking validation and it's not giving what you thought it's giving, okay? Please." One thing I do wanna ask that I thought about when you mentioned the first one was those hard moments, those dark days, especially on this never-ending journey to healing. There's days that I just feel like I can't anymore. So, what would you tell someone who's currently in that season of, oh God, I can't even get out of bed? How do you navigate those ebbs and flows that do come with the journey? And what's some advice you would tell someone who's currently in that ebb of their life?
Definitely gratitude. And I will be the first one to tell you when people said, oh, be grateful. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to say? Like, oh, I'm happy I woke up. And they're like, yeah, you're happy. Are grateful that you woke up because there are about hundreds of people who did not wake up today. So gratitude is definitely something that I would say. And I'm going to say this because it works. Fake it till you make it. I know people are like, don't say that, but say it every day. If it's just, hey, I'm happy that I woke up. I'm grateful that I woke up. And if that's all that you're grateful for, then so be it. Every day is going to be different. It's going to be, I am grateful that I get to live in this house. And instead of saying things like, with the gratefulness, the gratitude, you get to. You get to live. You get to go to work. Yeah, that job fucking sucks, but you get to go to work. And when you say it like that, that switches something in your brain. Like when I'm running with the women and especially beginners, and it's hot outside and they're like, "Oh my god, how much?" I'm like, "Ladies, you get to run." And the minute I say that, they're like, "Oh shit." we get to run. That just puts it in a different perspective, and it gives you hope. When you're feeling like you're so down and out and you almost feel hopeless, like, why am I doing this? Like, what's going to happen to me? Is this what my life has been? But when you start bringing in that positivity, like gratitude, and that you get to do things, it'll slowly happen, and it's a slow progress. It's not gonna happen like this, and that's another thing, like, people want this change to happen like this, fast, and it doesn't work that way, especially if you do that, you're actually gonna get yourself a more shit, okay? So, take your time in the process. Breathe, stay still, listen to yourself, and just go through the process.
I love that you brought up that last part because, especially when it comes to me and my fitness journey, I blame social media for the instant gratification that we all are dealing with. We all see only the highlight reels. Everyone's living their best life, but it's just a facade. We know it's fake. And we think that you can lose 30 pounds in a month in a healthy way. No, 9 times out of 10, that's really not the best way to do it. But I think it's important for us to fall in love with the journey. And that's what I've been learning, falling in love with, damn, I'm getting just a little bit stronger every single day. And that is what I'm grateful for. Of course, yes, I have my long term vision of what goals I want to reach, but y'all, falling in love with the process, that makes you fall in love with yourself. So focus on that.
Yeah, and the social media for sure is evil, but I mean, it's good and it's evil. And if you find yourself starting to, and I do this, comparing yourself, and it's starting to put you in this negative mode and you're going down that rabbit hole, I will shut that shit off. I'm like, you know what, Lisa? No, not today. You know what? You're not strong enough. You're starting to compare yourself. Like today, we're not looking at Instagram. Not going to happen.
Absolutely. Setting those boundaries. That's definitely a way that you're able to change the relationship that you have with yourself. I love that. Okay, so I want to ask you, thinking back to all the shit that you've gone through in your life and even things that you didn't talk about today, what do you want the biggest takeaway to for people to have listening to your story and seeing who you were to who you are now? What's the biggest takeaway you want people to have?
The biggest takeaway is that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 50 years old and I'm still learning. And, when I was going through that divorce, I was late 30s, early 40s, and my body changed. My mindset changed. And it's like and I love like people are saying the era and it's seasoned. And that was my season. Now, like at 50, I'm in a different season. Like I can't look back and be like, oh, I wish I was in my late 30s and 40s. That was amazing. No, now I'm in a different season. And that doesn't mean that I need to stop thriving and living my life because what is the alternative? Lay down and die? No, I'm not going to do that. So it's never too late to make those changes in your life. It's never too late to be happy. Be happy now.
Come on, y'all. She is preaching today. And I love that you said the word thriving. And that's the last question I want to ask you. Since you are on the Watch Us Thrive podcast, tell me, what does thriving mean to you?
Thriving is definitely always trying to live your best life at all times, at all costs, living your best life.
I love that so much. And I love this conversation. I know people are going to want to know more about you, possibly run with you and work with you as a life coach. So plug in all of your social media where we can follow you, any offerings that you have, and any last words of wisdom that you want to leave the people with.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so you can definitely find me on Instagram, Ella, ELLA underscore go on Instagram, Ella hyphen go on my website. And of course, I have a podcast as well that talks about running and fitness. As far as the biggest takeaway, or biggest tip, or biggest advice I'd like to give the listeners is that being a woman is hard as fuck. Okay. It's hard, but we have this power within us that's like no other. And We need to listen to that power within. Listen to it. Listen to what she's saying. Like I said before, listen to what she is saying. Because I'm going to tell you right now, all the mistakes I've made or all the things that I've done that put me in a very bad place is because I didn't listen to her. I didn't. And I could get very upset about it because if you were to say, oh, but did you ever think at the beginning? I'm always going to tell you, yeah, I knew. I knew. I was, yes, I was feeling that, but I wasn't going to listen to her. Listen to her. She will never steer you wrong.
Absolutely. I thinking about my own situation, that inner voice was telling me something wasn't right and I chose not to listen. But I have this mindset now of I'm grateful for all the shit that I went through because look at who the fuck I am today. Period, point blank. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. You are such an inspiration. I'm so excited to continue watching you grow and thrive and help others in the process. I'm going to link all her info in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you, Leanne. I am so happy to be here. I look up to you. I think what you're doing is amazing, and you're definitely an inspiration for sure.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're going to make me cry. Stop it. I'll catch y'all next week.